Welcome everyone to Injury Prevention in Kathak. This was a webinar organized by Breakthrough Physical Therapy in collaboration with SISK. It was conducted on Saturday, March 20th at 10:30 a.m. This is being recorded after the event so that the information is made available to all. A little background about me. My name is Lavanya Kailas. I am a physical therapist. I'm also a Bharatanatyam dancer and a Carnatic vocalist. Before I start this presentation, I wanted to share with you all a few experiences to help you all understand why this is important. Why do we need to talk about injury prevention? Um, this was several years back. Um, I had a performance coming up, and we were busy with stage rehearsals. And this is 3 days before the actual performance. In Bharatanatyam, we have a deep squat, a full squat position. So during the choreographic piece, I just go down and I sit down in that squat position. And there was an intense, excruciating pain, and I was unable to stand up after squatting down. In my mind, I was terrified. I was mortified. I just couldn't believe this was happening to me, and this intense right knee pain just made it impossible to stand or do anything. Fortunately, it was the end of rehearsal, and I did not have to do much. I went back home. Next morning, went and showed it to my colleagues, and they checked it out. They helped me with the pain and initial whatever you can do as a physical therapist. But this is still 2 days to the show, and there isn't much you cannot reverse it overnight. So I had to be on painkillers. I had to be on tons of tape all over my knee sleeve, just something to help me get through those 2 days and make me look good on the stage on the performance day. So I did that. But right after the performance, I had obviously had an injury. I kept dancing, and then the main event, all the stress attached with it, associated with it. The following morning, I wasn't able to even walk without pain. I was in a lot of pain. I ended up going to see an orthopedic surgeon because we suspected maybe a meniscal tear. Fortunately, there was no tear. We did an MRI, and then I followed up with my physical therapist. After several months of rehab, it took me 8 to 9 months before I could get up on stage, and a lot of lost opportunity that 1 year. And then, you obviously talk about these things, and then I realized that there were several dancers out there who had undergone similar things. And I also came to know about several professional dancers, some as my patients, some as my friends, and of course, stories floating around about how so many dancers end up getting surgeries and then physical therapy. And obviously, these things are happening behind the scenes. And as an audience member, we just see a really great dancer on stage, who is smiling or who is, conveying stories. We don't know the pain or the things that he or she has experienced to get there, or what is happening in reality. And after experiencing these injuries and pain is when people tend to start focusing a lot more on body strength, alignment, and all of that. But what I wanted to say is really help you all understand about why injury prevention is important. First and foremost, it starts a vicious loop of pain and disability, and sometimes it lasts lifelong and impairs your other activities. It leads to missed performance opportunities and income. For me, it was almost a whole year of me not performing, leave alone not performing. I wasn't even going to dance class at the time. A lot of time spent in rehabilitation, several PT sessions over the course of 3 to 4 months, expensive treatment, sometimes even surgeries. And worst case scenario is early retirement from dance, or maybe, switching to a totally new dance form altogether. And retirement from dance is something none of us want to even dream about. These are really the things that one needs to understand why prevention of injury is important. To give you all a quick outline of today's presentation, we will start off with a quick review of anatomy relevant to Kathak dancers, then review common injuries, good and bad posture relevant to the dance form. Then we'll spend a lot of time talking about strategies for prevention of injury, then dive deeper into understanding the different exercise types and understand what an ideal weekly workout should look like. Then we'll break into an exercise lab. This has a pre-recorded video that I'll play for you, and it will have a short warm-up session, which includes movements for each joint, followed by a few strength training exercises. Then finally, we'll discuss about how to return to dancing safely postpartum and after a long break either because of an injury or because of academics or work, whatever the reason might be. Then finally, what is the role of a physical therapist in all of this? And then we'll have ample time for Q&A. For the purposes of this presentation, we have noted down the questions that were asked during the session, and I'll be reviewing a few of those Q&A. So to start with anatomy, we'll be discussing muscles and joints. This is again just for your reference so that I can use these more comfortably during the rest of the presentation. So I have broadly divided them into upper extremity, lower extremity, and the trunk and pelvis. Starting with the muscles of the upper extremity. The reason I have chosen this picture is for all of you to appreciate that when we talk about the arm or the shoulder, it's not just this joint right here, but in fact, it is this entire segment, right? Including the shoulder joint, the joint that the shoulder blade makes with the rib cage, and then your spine itself. So we call this entire section here as the shoulder complex. The reason this is very important is when people complain of, oh, I have pain in my shoulder, the problem need not always be in this tiny area. It could be anywhere in this section. It could just be a regular day and you probably woke up with a tight upper back, okay? But during the course of the day, you have raised your arm multiple times, right, to get something out of a overhead shelf. Maybe you did some hastak practice or whatever it is that you use your arm for, but obviously you moved it way many times over your head, not realizing that something is tight here. And that has basically enabled you to do the movement in a bad pattern for an entire day. Now, if this were to happen 1 or 2 times, it's not really a big deal. But imagine if that is your pattern of movement while dancing or in your day-to-day activities without realizing there is something going on in this area. If your body constantly continues to compensate for you so that you can move your arm over your head, then that becomes a repetitive stress, and eventually that leads to pain in the shoulder. It might be because of a minor tear, or it might be because of one or the other muscle around the shoulder joint that is getting impinged. And that is typically when we as physical therapists see the patient. Because the patient starts to complain of pain, it starts to interfere with their day-to-day activities, and they no longer can function without pain. Now, had that person come in sooner and just got an assessment done, it would have been very easy for us to identify the bad pattern. And then early intervention could have helped prevented this escalation of symptoms to begin with. But the picture here is not for you to think about the muscle names, but it's really for you all to appreciate how complex it is, for that one movement to happen. So many parts of the body have to be in place, aligned, working well, for you to move well. Then the lower extremity, again, has big, bulky muscles. You have your hamstrings at the back of your thigh, quadriceps in the front of your thigh, glutes or the buttocks muscles, and then you have your calves. Again, these muscles are important, to get them strong, good, length, so that you can dance or do whatever activity it is that you want to do without, hurting them or injuring them. Finally, the trunk and the pelvis. It's called transversus abdominis. Moving forward, during this entire presentation, I'll just refer to it as the core. So when I'm talking about core, this is the muscle I'm talking about and not the six-pack muscle. And then the glute max muscles. These are your, buttock muscles, great pelvic stabilizers. So whenever I refer to as core and glutes, these are the two muscles that I'm talking about. And these are your best friends when it comes to pelvic stability. Every person who is walking upright, standing, needs to have good pelvic stability. The lack of this pelvic stability basically puts a tremendous amount of load on the lower extremity and the upper extremity. So having good pelvic stability, good strong core and glutes will help reduce the stress that is put on both the upper and the lower extremities. Now we'll quickly review the common injuries that are seen in Kathak dancers. When we see patients for shoulder pain, they usually are in for rotator cuff strain, upper trapezius pain, or sometimes even neck pain. Then we also see Kathak dancers who complain of hip pain or low back pain. And again, we do a thorough assessment to see how their pelvic alignment is affected. Is their pelvis stable? Are they firing glutes on one side and the other glutes are weak? And these are things that one might not notice when they are doing exercises, because when a person does exercises, they will still feel, they might still continue to feel equal on both sides. But only during an assessment can one come to know if one side glutes are firing more than the other side. And that often leads to, asymmetry in your pelvic bones. Knee joint pain. We see a lot of patients complaining, about pain in their knee joints. It could be because of patellofemoral, dysfunction, or due to excessive torsion at the knee. Torsion as in, turning and twisting at the knee joint. Hyperextension or excessive straightening at the knee joint. Many people tend to lock their knees when they are doing, chakkar. And while doing chakkar, if you're locking your knees, then you are essentially making the, increasing the risk of injury. The more, relaxed the knees are kept, the more body is ready to handle any kind of stress. The more, locked position you are keeping your body in, the more you're relying on ligaments. And then the risk of injury also increases, significantly. Finally, the ankle and foot joint. We see a lot of patients who come in saying, we have flat feet, can I do something about it? Flat feet is something that really needs to be assessed. I think we hear it way too commonly from a relative or, just a doctor saying, you know what, you have flat feet, to start wearing these. And it's not as simple as that, because it also boils down to, why do you have flat feet to begin with? Is it, anatomically like that because your bones are that way, or is something else happening that is, making it seem like you have flat feet, and did it develop over time? So a lot of things that need to be addressed, with that. We see patients with plantar fasciitis, ankle sprains, shin splints. These are all the common things that we see, Kathak dancers for. And again, it all boils down to, understanding why did this person have this injury. Injuries or pain are of two types. You have an acute onset where you trip and fall down and the pain starts, and that is considered acute onset. And it's usually very easy to explain the acute onset of injury. Now, the chronic pain, chronic injury is what we commonly see in dancers. And it's very unique to dancers because of the kind of stresses they put on their joints and muscles. There is repetitive movements that is practiced over and over again to perfect the movement pattern. So dancers typically, when we examine, we see a lot of signs of repetitive stress. The second reason why dancers typically have a more severe form of injury is because they leave the prior injuries untreated. So then it just adds on top of that. And finally, when someone continues to dance or practice with wrong body mechanics, then they tend to rely a lot on their muscle joint compensatory patterns to enable them to continue dancing. And it's only when the body gives up do we realize that there was something wrong to begin with and this was not addressed. So we always say practice makes perfect, but it's actually perfect practice makes perfect. So identifying these faulty movement patterns, rectifying them, learning to recruit the right muscles, understanding how to minimize the way we load the joints while doing certain choreographic movements. These are all the different things that we need to be aware of and kind of implement that when we are practicing, and not just the act of, okay, I have to practice for 10 minutes today. That doesn't cut it. You have to be extremely mindful during the practice sessions, because that's when you're really training your body for the art form. It's not just about, can I do this chakkar in this speed? Can I just do it? If only I could do it. Am I able to recruit my glutes and core when I'm doing a chakkar? That's how mindful you need to be when you're doing your practice. That way, when you are on stage performing, all you're thinking about is the bhava or the story that is going on, and you can actually experience the dance itself. Which brings me to posture. I think growing up and even into our adult life, we are constantly bombarded with sit upright. That's the best posture. Keep your chest up, shoulders back. Don't slouch. We are bombarded with tons of these things from all around us. But is that all there is to posture? Unfortunately, posture is way more complicated than that. As you can appreciate in this picture here, it's a continuous segment, right? For example, there are sections where they are aligned, and there are certain sections where she is overcorrected. And this is unfortunately where most of us end up. The minute somebody tells us to sit upright, we tend to overcorrect. And that isn't good for our bodies either. And that's why I've put up this picture here. This is where we need to be. This is sort of optimal alignment of the body. And here is what we tend to do the minute somebody tells us, oh, you're slouched, sit up straight. And then we tend to overcorrect our posture. The reason I have put this picture here is to draw your attention to picture number 2 and picture number 4. Kathak dancers typically have to maintain a straight posture, and the tendency sometimes is to go on that forefoot and lean a bit to appear more energetic, and kind of you're waiting for that next set of choreographic movements to start. And this again stresses a lot on your lower spine. The second most commonly seen posture is here, where in order to maintain that vertical position, people tend to raise their shoulders. They tend to overly squeeze their shoulder blades to, again, get that I should not appear slouched. I have to stand up straight. But quite a few of them tend to be in these two postures rather than the last one over here, which is how one should stand ideally. Now, one easy way to remember good posture is at no time should we be locking our joints. It is all about dynamic posture control. The posture is never supposed to be static. What I mean by dynamic posture control is at any given time, especially while you're dancing, you need to be controlling your movements, your posture, static and dynamic, with the help of muscles. Never rely on your ligaments in any of these situations. For example, this person standing here, if you see, she is highly arched in her lower back and she has locked her pelvis in this position. So she's heavily relying on her ligaments at the front of the thigh or pelvis for stability. Now imagine somebody like this, for whatever reason, encounters a stress. It directly goes to her ligaments or lower back because she has stopped using her core muscles here and she has lost that dynamic control. So it is very important for dancers to remember to activate the right muscles for the right movement. And even if it is just a static pose that somebody is giving, you are not to let go of muscles and take a break. The muscles still need to be working, and you have to understand that locking the joints increases the risk of injury. So, keeping the joints in a ready state and not a locked state. And one can achieve that by actively engaging the muscles. This brings us to injury prevention. We are going to spend the next several minutes talking about what it takes to work on preventing injuries. First, I'll review the different exercise that one needs to do in order to prevent injuries. First and foremost, warm ups. Effective warm up before dancing goes a long way in helping prevent injuries. Secondly, focus on strength training. This is, of course, for general physical competence, but also for Kathak, you have to identify the key muscles that one needs to have good strength in order to maintain certain postures, do certain movements. So it's very important to focus enough time on strength training. Thirdly, stretching. Stretching is important to help maintain functional length of the muscles. Kathak is a full body dance, right? So it's very important to stretch not only the upper extremity but also the lower extremity muscles. I would also focus quite some time on spine mobility itself because it's a dance form that involves the entire body. And then finally, working on stability and proprioception training. Balance training is a very important aspect of this. What this does is to connect it directly with Kathak. Chakkar is a very good example of a single leg activity that one has to do. Now, if you don't really do balance training, then you are not training the muscles effectively to really engage in those activities. So all these 4 steps are important and they need to be a part of your exercise program. Now, specifically for Kathak, it is a dance form that has a lot of footwork and Tatkar obviously adds to the beauty of the art form. But it's also something for which the dancer is standing for a prolonged period of time and the force with which they tap the ground is also something one needs to realize is happening. So what can you do as a dancer to help protect your feet or lower extremity in general? Outside of your class, the minute you step outside your class, ensuring that you're always wearing proper footwear will go a long way, right? Imagine you are taxing your feet and your muscles in class, rehearsal, or stage performance. And then the minute you step outside, again, you are not supporting them enough. And instead, you're wearing heels or you wear the flats, right, which absolutely have no arch support. You are then not giving the break that the muscles require, and the muscles continue to work nonstop. That is not advisable. Secondly, focusing on foot ankle strength and stability training. You have lots of muscles that are around your ankle joint, in the sole of your feet, above your feet. So you really need to work on strengthening them so that you can reduce the stress that the foot is feeling while doing tatkar and the standing while doing the standing movements, essentially. The second most important thing is working on core and trunk stabilization. Like I explained earlier, the trunk and pelvis play a huge role in determining how the stress is transferred onto your upper extremity and lower extremity. If you can focus some time on developing the strength and stability around your trunk and pelvis area, it will help to reduce the stress that your feet, your knee, and your hips face significantly. And finally, the floor type. Concrete obviously is the worst. It has a lot of impact on your knees. In the US, most of us are used to dancing on wooden floors. That is definitely better when you compare it with concrete. But if you absolutely do end up dancing on concrete, something to remember is adjusting the force with which you tap. When we tap our feet on concrete, we don't get as much feedback. So the tendency is to stomp harder so that you can get the feedback. But that in turn leads to increased force, a lot of impact on the knees. So controlling the amount of force that with which you tap or do tatkar on concrete will help reduce the impact on your knees and also spine. In summary, do targeted strength training and learn how to recruit your muscles during different movements. Riyaz of the basics with good body mechanics to solidify neural pathways. What I mean by riyaz of the basics is the things that your guru taught you the first 2 to 3 years of Kathak training. How to do basic tatkar, how to do tatkar with hand gestures or chakkars or other simple movement patterns. These are the basic steps that you should be reviewing and doing more often while applying good body mechanics, because then you are helping to build the muscle memory. And when you can be mindful during these practice sessions, that will then carry forward into your performance, or when you're doing a more choreographic piece between Radha or Krishna, then you can worry about the storyline itself, because then your body is very much in control. And at that time, you don't have to worry about, am I using my shoulder the wrong way? Is my pelvis aligned? That's not the time to think about these things. The time to practice these things is during your basic step exercise or basic step practice time. This will help solidify these neural pathways. Then optimal practices to get the muscles ready before class or performance. So again, invest time doing warm up and also cool down right after. Now, we do know that sometimes there are back-to-back classes, so it's very difficult to accommodate for this. But the students can very well be standing outside and doing just 10 minutes of marching or jumping jacks or jogging in place. There are multiple ways one can do warm up. It is important to do warm up, but what you include in the warm up itself, there are tons of options to choose from depending on how much time and how much space you have. But skipping warm up should never be an option. And then finally, focusing on recovery and spacing of rehearsals or programs. As professional dancers, we often have back-to-back programs or back-to-back workshops, but really focusing on doing a proper cool down at the end, after the performance, or at least the end of the day, right, will help your muscles to recover will help reduce the soreness that the body experiences the following day, and the muscles will be ready, more ready to handle the next day's performance. So, keeping all of these 4 points in mind is very important to help prevent injuries. Now, before we move on to exercises and lab, I'm quickly going to go over each exercise type to give you a better understanding as to why you should spend time doing these exercises. Warm up. It is one of the most important components of any exercise program, and it helps to minimize injury risk significantly. It prepares the body for dance or exercise by slowly increasing the heart rate. It increases the body temperature, enhances joint mobility, and helps to activate the muscles. Essentially, it really gets the body ready for any activity. A simple analogy would be, do you want to get up from your bed slowly and then stand up and then, go about doing your everyday activities? Or is it easier for you to just jump out of the bed and do whatever it is that you want to do? So you have to give time to your body to really slowly kind of awaken and get ready for, especially for something like Kathak, which is a high intensity activity. You cannot expect your body to just get up and do a sprint running. For Kathak dancers, after you do the general body warm up, you would do Kathak specific warm up like tatkar with hand movements, chakkars, and then you can move on to your choreographic pieces. A warm up can last from anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes, but at the very minimum, 10 to 15 minutes is something that each and every one of you should aim to do before you do any dance choreographic piece. But up to 30 minutes is great. And warm ups can have your general body movements. These days, a lot of people do dynamic warm up. That is, they don't start with stretching. They start with a lot of movement based warm up and then move on to some aerobic activities. And then you could do some stretching right before the dance. Then strength training, it helps to improve strength in muscles in a targeted way to enable them to handle stresses placed on the body without hurting the joints. Again, we reviewed a little bit of this when we were talking about the ankle joint injuries. So the more you can strengthen the muscles, the better they are able to hold the movement, control the movement, and protect the joints. And ultimately, we want to try and protect our joints and reduce the wear and tear that they experience. Finally, stretching. It helps to improve muscle flexibility and length to enable body to move through different patterns without hurting the body or using compensatory patterns. Again, when the flexibility or the length of the muscle is optimal for the body movement that you're trying to do, you are reducing the risk of injury or tear the muscle might experience. And incorporating stretching as a routine in your cool down routine helps with the recovery process, helps to reduce the soreness you feel in the muscles the following morning. So stretching is a great type of exercise to do at the end of your warm up, and also something that you must do as part of your cool down to help the body recover. Now, what should an ideal weekly workout look like? The first section is for people who have, a day job, a full-time job, who are in school, and who probably just go and attend class 1 hour per week and nothing outside of that. I would still encourage you to spend at least 30 minutes strength training per week, 30 minutes of basic training, and 30 minutes on the choreographic pieces. And again, I have mentioned be mindful there because that's the part where you are training your body to activate certain muscles so that you can do the movement the right way. So when I say 30 minutes of basics, it's not, start a timer and, okay, I did my practice, I'm done. No, that's the time you really have to be present and think about how your body is moving. What muscles are you feeling when you're moving? What muscles do you feel is getting, are getting pulled? So you have to be very receptive and kind of be very aware of what is happening in your body. For those of you who are professionals and full-time dancers, I would highly recommend 2 hours of strength training per week, 2 hours of balance and flexibility. This will go a long way to help handle any kind of stress that comes your way. 2 hours of basics, and again, be very mindful because this is where you're learning about recruiting your muscles that you worked during strength training, working on choreographic pieces, and then cross training. Some of the recommended cross training activities for Kathak dancers would be yoga, Pilates, swimming, any sport really. Something that does not tax your feet as much as Kathak does. So, running is not something I would typically recommend. But if it is a goal for you to be a Kathak dancer and a runner, surely you can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it under cross training. It could just be an added activity that you do. These are the key exercises that each one of you should focus on. And the exercises sheets are available on our website. But these are the exercise sheets that each and every one of you should have received by now. Now, before we start the lab, go ahead, make sure you have enough space around to do these exercises. Grab a water bottle, get your yoga mat, and then you can get started. What I have done here is I've pre-recorded this video. It has a warm-up, and then there are 3 strengthening exercises at the end, all are done on the floor. And then I will have each one of you do a chakra right before that. Okay. So in this, you're just looking up and down. Doing rotations at the neck. Down, look to your left, look up, come down, and all the way down. Make circles with your arm. Again, all of these movements should be pain-free. If there is any movement that is causing pain, just stop and then join when you can. Moving on to elbows now. The wrists. Feel that stretch in the shoulder. Hold for about 30 seconds. Keep breathing the entire time. Don't hold your breath for anything. Shift to the other side, stretch and hold for about 30 seconds. And again, none of these movements should be painful. If you experience pain during any of these exercises, just pause and do whatever you can. Go up on your tippy toes and stretch all the way up and reach up as high as you can. Moving on to your lower extremity now after this stretch. Feet, ankle rotations. Moving on to the hips now. Lift your hip as high as you can, lift your leg as high as you can, and rotate at the hips. Okay. For those of you who are comfortable doing jumping jacks, go ahead, do jumping jacks now. And for those of you who have knee pain, ankle pain, or pain in your lower back, then you can do the alternate version, which is marching and squatting. These are just two examples of aerobic activities that you can include in your warm-up. Again, there are many other options, but these are just the basics that you could do. This is a great starting point. The warm-up that I have recorded here is really a starting point for those of you who probably have not been doing any warm-up before your training or dance class. There are several options that you can incorporate. These are just the basics. This is a glute bridge exercise. So as you're getting ready to do this, remember to roll your pelvis back like so to engage your core muscles, and then slowly raise your hips off the floor and see how the shoulder, hips, and knees are aligned in one straight line. You should feel core and your glutes in this exercise. If you're not feeling your glutes as much, you can squeeze your buttocks a little bit, and that will help activate those glute muscles. Once you raise your hips up, you can stay there for about 30 seconds before you lower your hips back down on the floor and repeat the exercise 5 times. The next exercise is 90-90 heel tap. Again, you're going to roll your pelvis back first to engage the core muscles, ensure the back stays flat on the ground, and then you lift both your feet up one at a time. And then while engaging the core, I want you to lower one heel down to the floor and lift it up again. Now, keeping the core engaged, you're bringing one foot down, now the other, and up. Doing this exercise, if you are not able to maintain a flat back and the low back keeps arching, then you would have to go to a lower version of this exercise. And I would ask you to discontinue doing these exercises. The final exercise is all fours. So first tuck your tailbone under you and then shift your weight forward slightly. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Focus on a nice prolonged exhale to engage your core even more. The back, upper back, mid back stays flat. Do not round your back. You are just tucking the tailbone under you. You're just tilting that pelvis to engage the core. Okay. Now, before we move on to this section, now that all of you are warmed up and have understood how to engage core and your glutes, let's quickly do a chakkar before moving on. So I'm just going to give you a count of three and just follow along and do maybe a few chakkars, and then I'll give you a different cue. Okay. 1, 2, 3, start. Ta, ta, thai. Ta, ta, thai. Ta, ta, thai. Ta, ta, thai. Okay. Now I want you to consciously engage your glutes and core. Just contract them a little bit. And now do the same chakkar again. Okay. 1, 2, 3, start. Ta, ta, thai. Ta, ta, thai. Ta, ta, thai. Ta, ta, thai. Now, before you recruited those muscles and the chakkars before and after, I hope all of you felt that subtle difference in the way you were able to do the chakkar. The reason I had you engage your core and glutes is to help reduce the stress on your left knee, to have more pelvic stability, and you will land lightly on your right foot when you're striking after the chakra. So hope that you were able to perceive that. If not, now that you know what it is meant for, you can go back and try doing that again. So let's talk a little bit about returning to dancing safely after a break. First and foremost, you should get your muscle strength and flexibility assessed based on your goals. The break could have been because you had a baby, it could be because of an injury, or it was just because you moved to a different location, because of education, work, whatever the reason was for your break. You have to understand that your body is not what it used to be. So it's always recommended to get the muscle strength and flexibility assessed before you embark upon any activity. For those of you who are postpartum, definitely get your abdominal muscles assessed for diastasis recti, because during pregnancy, the abdomen size grows and the muscles split apart. They come back together slowly once the baby is delivered, but it's very different for each woman. So it's important to get that assessed, because someone who is having diastasis recti but decides to return to activity early could end up with a lot of low back pain and lower extremity injuries if that is not taken care of in a timely way. Again, start slow. I cannot emphasize this enough. Always start slow and slowly build as your body recovers and you feel stronger. Give at least a minimum of 6 to 12 weeks to gain muscle strength. Slowly increase the duration and intensity of the activity. Finally, allow for 4 to 6 months to prepare and train your body, especially if you are not physically active prior to the break. Following all these above steps will definitely help you return to dancing safely and minimize the risk of injuries. Now, where does a physical therapist fit into all of this? Most commonly asked question is, should one see a physical therapist when there is no pain or injury? My answer would be, it depends on your goals. If it's a young individual who really doesn't participate in any physical activity other than maybe walking around their apartment complex or neighborhood, then I would say no, you don't have to see a physical therapist. But for those of you who are dancers, or for those of you who would want to continue running or start running, go hike, I would say definitely go see a physical therapist first, because you can get a full assessment done. You will learn about your body's strengths and weaknesses. And knowing these, you'll be able to implement exercises or strategies to help improve those movement patterns. Like I spoke about earlier, is the bad movement patterns that are repeated over and over again is what ultimately leads to the bigger injury. So if you can identify these weaknesses or bad mechanics that you have in your body, and really get a tailor-made program to suit your goals, to help achieve your goals. And this is something we as physical therapists can help you with. And then again, minimize risk of injuries due to repetitive stress and poor body mechanics. This will go a long way, and it will help to extend your life as a dancer. The ultimate goal is to continue doing whatever activity it is that you want, you and your family members really, to continue doing physical activities in a pain-free way, in a stress-free way, right? Not thinking about, oh, but if I walk, for 5 miles, or I start experiencing knee pain, or if I dance, I experience knee pain. Those are not the things we want to be thinking about as much. So again, even if you don't have pain, you should absolutely go see a physical therapist, because they can help identify these weaknesses sooner than later, and help minimize the risk of injuries. And with that, we arrive at the end of this presentation, and it's time for some Q&A. The very first question: before or after dance rehearsal, do you recommend any stretches that would help relax the muscles? What are those? Excellent question. Definitely during cool down, do incorporate stretching. You can start from your upper extremity, triceps, pectoralis muscle, deltoid, moving down to your spine. Something like child's pose or thread the needle will help open up the spine and improve its mobility. And then finally, you can work on your glutes, hamstrings, and calf muscles. Before the dance rehearsal, stretching is recommended, but I would do it at the end of your warm-up, and don't start your warm-up with the stretches. Moving on to the next one. What could be the cause of excessive knee and quad pain during long, extensive periods of tatkar? So one thing When it comes to Tatkar, you have to remember and understand the importance of flooring. So, depending on if you're dancing on a wooden floor or a concrete floor, the intensity of pain and the impact that is happening at the knee joint varies. So, that is one big factor that determines, if one would experience knee pain or not. The second thing is how much are you loading the lower extremities? Do you have strong glutes and core muscles providing enough stability at the pelvis? If that's the case, that significantly reduces the amount of force with which the other muscles have to work. So, those would be the two things that I would evaluate first. Could you please briefly touch upon the impact of dancing surfaces on the body? Dancing on a wood floor is different from dancing on concrete or tile. Of course, carpet is out of the question. Absolutely. Adding on from the previous question, surface on which a dancer does Kathak is very crucial. It's a very important factor and it plays a significant role in the amount of stress that a body endures. Whenever there is a situation where one has to dance on concrete, remember that on concrete, while the foot tapping or tatkar, one doesn't really get as much feedback. So the tendency is to stomp harder or tap harder. And that is when the impact on the knee increases. So knowing that you're not going to get as much feedback, if you are able to tap with lesser force, you are definitely protecting your knees by doing that. Secondly, when you have strong lower extremity muscles, it also helps to reduce the force with which you land your foot. You can have better control while tapping. So, work on lower extremity strengthening and also control the force with which you do the foot tapping or tatkar so that you can minimize the impact on your spine and your knees. Last question on this page. When we do all 16 hastak in continuous, I get arms paining and I sometimes pause and resume. How can we strengthen and get rid of pain to complete in smooth flow? Wonderful. So this aligns with stamina building essentially. If the area where the pain is experienced is more arm, and it's because of dancing for a continuous period of time, it's a matter of developing stamina by continuing to practice regularly. The second thing to look out for is, are these arms getting tired because they don't have enough endurance? Or are these muscles overworking because your upper back or core muscles are not strong enough? So, those are two different things. So, definitely, an assessment will help you identify the reason for this early fatigue if that is what is going on. Some people find it difficult to quickly switch from sitting position to standing position, even though they have good leg strength otherwise. So, why does that happen? Are there any tips or a particular exercise which will help switch from sitting to standing position easily? In here, the obviously I have not assessed this person. So, when someone is saying they have good leg strength, it is quite subjective. You would have to evaluate it relevant to the activity that you're doing. Do you have good strength for this particular activity? For example, I have good lower strength to walk around and go up and down the stairs, but I don't have good leg strength to go out and run. So, when you're talking about strength, it's always relevant to a particular activity. So, you would have to get that assessed for the specific choreographic movement that you're talking about. Yes, there are exercises that can help. One of Some of the more commonly done exercises are squats and also lunges. But again, for this particular movement, what is required is something that you would need to get assessed. We here activate the core, engage the core a lot. What does this actually mean, and how do we know we are doing it? Wonderful. This is something we also see a lot in the clinic. But the way we approach this is like we did during the exercise lab. You did a few exercises where you had to tilt your pelvis. In that, the body understands how to get the core engaged. Now, that knowledge needs to be transferred while you're dancing. So, once your brain understands what core activation feels like, eventually you should be able to do that voluntarily because muscle memory builds in your body. There are physical therapists for athletes. I want to specialize after my bachelor's in physiotherapy, which is more oriented for dancers. What are career choices ahead in this field? It is a growing field right now. There are several clinics that specialize in dance medicine. Um, as far as I know, there isn't a particular course or is a residency program that one can do to specialize in dance medicine. Having said that, there is tons of research out there accessible to everyone. So, going through all of that, developing the academic background for it will definitely help prepare you for the field. But yes, the career, it's definitely a bright career choice with lots of opportunities. Any alternatives for people who can't go on all fours? Absolutely. There are several modifications for each exercise, for almost all exercises. For example, the third exercise that I showed you was the all fours position. That is to help engage the core. And we can always give alternate versions or some modification that doesn't have you put weight on your palms or the wrists getting sore. Last question on the page. Would tucking in the tailbone help in getting a better posture? Yes and no. Yes, for people who are extremely extended, the pelvic tilt definitely helps recruit the core and helps align the entire spine. But posture is also very complicated phenomenon overall. So it's not just one thing that leads to a better posture, depending on what your individual um, difficulty is. We'll have to work with that. It's definitely not one trick that fixes everyone. When there are back-to-back classes, how as teachers we can make the students do warm-up exercises? It increases the patch time. This is a serious logistic issue. Having said that, warm-up itself can have different kinds of exercises. For example, spot jogging is something that can be done during warm-up. Jumping jacks, marching, squats, just running. So there are multiple things going up and down the stairs. There are many kinds of exercises one can do as part of their warm-ups. And it is something the student can do when they're standing outside the class. They can do it right before they enter the class, right before they start from home. So different modifications can be made, but what is more important is that it has to be done to help prepare the body for the physical activity. Any specific exercises or things to keep in mind while dancing for flat feet people to avoid injuries in the long term? Flat feet is something that would need to be assessed first and foremost, like I said earlier. For people who already have flat feet, I would focus more on ankle strengthening and ankle stability training, balance activities. Those are the things I would work more on. Also, something as simple as placing your foot on a floor on top of a towel, and then you're just crunching the towel while placing the heel down will help develop the muscles in the sole of your feet. Any modifiers for people close to 50 plus years? In terms of Kathak and in terms of the kind of exercises one does, yes, modification will be required. But this is a very broad question, and this is something that one would need to address during a one-on-one session, because every 50-year-old is, anyone older than 50. I mean, each individual is different, and the strengths and weaknesses are different. So, whatever the recommendation would be, it would be very specific to that one individual. But yes, modifications can absolutely be done depending on what the requirement is. If we do Tatkar, Hastak, and a little bit of Chakkars in the beginning, do we still need any other warm up extensively every time? And the answer is yes. With Tatkar, Hastak, and Chakkar, yes, you are getting the body moving. Yes, you are increasing your heart rate and temperature. But it still doesn't, it probably still is not sufficient. And with the traditional warm-up general exercises, there is focus on getting each and every muscle and joint to really get moved at least once before starting the Kathak practice. Is there a specific reason for pain in the shins in the beginning of Riyaz, even after warming up, and how to prevent it? Shin splints or shin pain is fairly common in Kathak dancers. Some of the things one could do is massage the tibialis anterior muscle, or the muscles in front of your lower leg. You can also do gentle stretches for the muscle. Foam rolling helps. Also working on some strength training, because when Kathak dancers do Tatkar, to avoid a slapping motion on the foot, the tibialis anterior muscle essentially has to work really hard to control the Tatkar. And that is one of the reasons why the pain is there for Kathak dancers in their shins, because they tend to hold their foot a lot, which is required. So working on some strength training and also stretching and foam rolling for that one particular muscle will help control these symptoms and also prepare one better. Can you emphasize your point on hip muscles, knee placement for chakkars? So chakkar essentially is a single leg activity. So it's very important to first train your pelvis to stay even and stable, even when it is standing only on one foot or one leg. It's important to keep the knee relaxed and get the muscles engaged, core, glutes, quads, and hamstrings. This will help avoid any torsion at the knee joint, and it will also help you to land lightly on your right foot at the end of the chakra. Should tucking in the tailbone a practice we should maintain when walking, especially when learning to get a better posture? Yes, you don't have to do it actively every time, but if you are one of those people who tends to lock their lower back to have a straight posture, then yes, you can absolutely do that. Everybody emphasizes on having right posture. How one should understand if the posture is correct and it is not understretched or overstretched while doing any exercise. This comes with working with a professional one-on-one, because that's when you truly learn what it feels like when you are in the right posture, so to say. And with practice, there is improved muscle memory, and then eventually it just becomes a habit. So to answer it briefly, it really comes down to, do you have those one-on-one sessions with the physical therapist to see how your posture is. Again, posture is a very a complex thing. It is not a straightforward solution for that can be applied to everyone. So it is really something that you would have to work individually to achieve. What should we do in cool down in general, stretching, and what more? Yes, the answer is right there. Stretching is definitely an integral part of cool down. Some of the other things you can do is foam rolling. Foam rolling helps again to go deeper and helps to minimize the soreness one experiences the following morning. Some of the other things are like a child's pose or kind of rocking a cat camel, just general mobility exercises to kind of cool down in the sense, bring the body down to a more stable state at the end. What is a correct posture for Tatkar and correct way of distributing pressure, especially at higher speeds, and heel Tatkar to prevent injuries? After I started Tatkar at higher speeds, I feel pain in the hip joint. Is that normal? Pain at a joint is never considered normal. The reason pain at the joint happens is because the muscles are not able to control the movement efficiently. So, something that is easy at level one speed or at a lower speed is probably because your muscles are able to handle that force. But as the speed increases, if that muscle hasn't caught up to that activity, then the joints do end up facing a lot more stress. And that is typically when people end up experiencing more pain. So for working on the correct posture, it's a multi-step process which starts with strength training, then reviewing if you have the flexibility or not, and then doing the things that we've already discussed about how to engage the muscle while doing the activity. With that, I conclude the Q&A. I just picked a few questions that were asked during the session on Saturday, March 20th. If you have any other questions or concerns, we are happy to help you. You can reach us at the number given there. And also go ahead and schedule your one-on-one sessions because I can address your individual concerns during those sessions.